Welcome again to part two of this very important Assets Summit. The first panel really is to help get some of us more acquainted with what's going on right here in the Bangor area. We have three panelists, John Plummer with the Bangor Savings Bank, Jane Searles with Women, Work and Community, and Paul Matulis with the Penquist Community Action Program. Each of these individuals is going to share a bit of the picture and help us put the pieces of the puzzle together for when, a little bit later this morning, we work in small groups to think about next steps, relationship building, collaborations we can build on from some of the presentations that you'll hear in this first panel as well as the second panel. Our first speaker is going to be Jonathan Plummer. He is the Vice President and Area Sales Manager for the Bangor Savings Bank. He grew up in Wolfboro, New Hampshire.
I'm from away.
You're from away. Aha. Okay. But he and his wife have become Mainers, as I guess is the right term, and are taking care of two very big orange cats, I understand. He has a BS in marketing from the University of Phoenix, a graduate of Northeast School of Banking at Williams College, and he has worked as a banker and a stockbroker related to 8 retail branches in and around Greater Bangor. So let me first turn and thank Jonathan to give us a glimpse of some of the possibilities related to the bank and building a pathway to a better economic future for people with disabilities here.
I know our time is brief this morning, so this shouldn't take more than 90 minutes. You'll want to take notes. There'll be a quiz afterward. No, I'm just going to take a couple minutes and talk a little bit about banking and some of what we're involved in. And I know we'll have an opportunity, I think, later to do some Q&A, and that's kind of what I've geared up for. One of the things I was asked to talk about is a bank's desire to serve marginalized or underbanked communities. And anytime I talk about banking, I have to preface this by saying banks are a highly regulated industry. We have more regulation than just about anything out there. And what I would submit to you is when we talk about initiatives and things that banks do, there are things that banks do because they have a desire to do them, and there are things that are regulated for them to do. And some of what I'm talking about is Community Reinvestment Act, Equal Opportunity Act, Fair Housing Act. These are 3 of the primary things we deal with. Community reinvestment specifically speaks to active outreach and engagement in our communities and focus on low to moderate income individuals, which I think is apropos for what we're talking about today. I'll give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about. I remember years ago, specific to individuals with disabilities, first bank I worked for had this huge teller line. It had like 10 spaces on the teller line, and it was pretty high up, so you kind of lorded over people when they came in. You could look down at them. And there was this thing in the front that you would pull out that was a shelf kind of thing. And I was new to banking. I had been a broker previously, and I said, what's that for? And they said, well, if someone comes in a wheelchair, you pull this thing out, and there's markers and things, and it's there to help them deal with the bank. And I said, well, it's in the middle of the teller line, so they have to go to that specific shelf and pull it out and, in front of everybody. And, I said, well, that's kind of interesting. So I remember seeing that. I also, the same bank I worked for, the main entry into the bank had to be compliant with American with Disabilities Act, of course. And so the entryway into the bank had one of the buttons you could open that would open the doors so you could easily get into the bank, but the main entrance to the building didn't have that. And the building had the bank's name on the top of it. And I developed a friendship at the time with a gentleman who was in a wheelchair. He was one of my customers. Got to know him really well. Loved him to death. I still know him today. He's a great guy. And he was angry every time he came into the bank because he had to have somebody open that door to the main entryway in the building for him. And so I remember writing a corporate headquarters and saying, hey, can we do something about this? And they said, well, we don't have to. We're meeting the regulation. The owner of the building would have to do this. Yeah, but it's our name on the building. Maybe we should contact them and have them do something differently. Well, they wouldn't even make the effort to do it. So what I submit to you is choose your partners wisely, I guess. Banks either have a desire to be involved in their communities or don't. Now, shameless commercial, I work for Bangor Savings Bank. I included an annual report with you. We gave about $1.3 million back to our communities last year. And I can submit to you again what's, I think, a little different about this bank in my own personal experience. When we're planning things at the beginning of the year, when we're talking about the initiatives we want to be involved in, the third leg of the stool is always community and how we can give back and how we can be a real partner in our communities. I'll talk a little bit, without going into the whole corporate giving thing here, specific to individuals with disabilities or underserved communities. Often, I worked for another bank in the past. I'll give you another example. There was a special account that was designed for folks that didn't have checking accounts and were not a traditional banking customer. And it was one of the first accounts that had a card associated with it, and you could draw down on the card when you needed money from your account. And again, it was explained to me, yeah, this is great. We can manage this. It'll help with our CRA rating, and it's 2% every time somebody draws money down from the card. And I said, so if they take $100 out, it's $2. Okay. If they take out $50, it's $4. If they take out $20, anybody? Well, I won't make you do the math, but it gets pretty expensive. I work for a bank, again, where checking accounts are free. ATMs are free worldwide. We don't charge you a fee to issue you a card. In fact, we issue them on site. It costs us a little more money. It costs us about $2 million a year to rebate ATM fees. That was about $400,000 the first year we did it, but all those fees have gone up, and so we rebate them, and they go up for us too. But I submit to you it's a leap of faith. We've attracted a lot of customers as a result. Likewise, bank currently has 56 branches in Maine. Our mission's in Maine. We don't have a mission outside of Maine. We don't have any desire to do anything outside of Maine. Not all of those branches are profitable, newsflash, but we think it's our brand. We want to be able to be in rural communities to serve the state in which we've decided to do business. And so, we do what we can do. We're intelligent about it, I think. We're in business. We're a for-profit business, so we have to keep our eyes on the bottom line, of course. But we desire to serve the state and our community, and that's the position we've taken, and it has yielded a lot of customers for the bank. So I think our leap of faith has paid off. In terms of corporate giving, most banks, and we're no exception, have a focus on what we want to do. Ours is specifically education, social civic services, culture and arts, health and wellness. I can give you a few examples of those. This year, for example, we voted as a group in terms of health and wellness, gave $56,000 to the Good Shepherd Food Bank. We polled a lot of our customers and people in the community, and we found that hunger is an issue in Maine. So that allows a lot of organizations to get a credit with the food bank and purchase more food than they could normally get on their own. So we try to be mindful of what's happening out there. In terms of affordable financial services, Fresh Start programs, I was asked to speak about that. We have a Fresh Start program at the bank as well. If someone overdraws their account, we have a program that puts them back on track to get back in the good graces of the bank, if you will. But it's a forgiveness program that allows them to get back and get their account back to normal. What's interesting today, I was struggling a little bit when I had to speak this morning because I said, well, I know I've worked at banks previously. People want to hear about all the special programs and things. We don't have a lot of special programs. We begin at free. So in most of those terms, we offer something we would offer anybody in the community. Now back to where I started. If you've been into some of our branches or you've seen us redesign some of our branches or new ones that we've built recently, I remember I mentioned the shelf. If you walk into a Bangor Savings branch, you'll see a teller line, then you'll see a station at the end, in most cases where someone would service a customer. You can roll up, if you're in a wheelchair, you could roll up right to that station and be serviced. And the chairs, by the way, have wheels, so the chairs can easily be moved out of the way. There's also a chair that has handles and a chair that has no handles, so they can accommodate just about anybody. Those are expensive things to do, actually, but it's not a thought for us because we want to be able to serve our communities. So we try to incorporate things like that in our branches. I put an annual report out in front of you. There's some information on some of the ways that we give back that I'll let you read on your own. And I guess I'll pass the baton at that point, unless somebody has any questions.
We're going to hold questions till we hear from all three panelists. But Jonathan, thank you. I want to turn next to Jane Searles, who is the Regional Manager for the North Central Down East Region for Women Working Community. And this is an organization that is statewide, Women's Economic Development Organization, helping Maine's women as well as men succeed in the Maine economy, help find jobs, start businesses, manage money, and become leaders in communities. Started in 1978, there are now 6 regional centers throughout the state. Jane holds a master's degree in community economic development from Southern New Hampshire University and a BA from the University of Maine. And Jane, why don't you share with us more about what the organization is doing and how it can fit into this picture?
Thank you. First, I want to say Bangor Savings has been the bank in our area who has stepped up and been very involved in the community, because I've watched them firsthand on the different committees I've been on and how much they've helped. Women Working Community, as mentioned, has been around since 1978. We work in 4 areas in our program. One is workforce development. That's helping women and men look at their interests and their values to help them figure out, in terms of career, education, what kind of pathway that they want to take to become self-sufficient. So that's one of the things that we do. A second area is small business development. And we have a variety of small business classes, and we can work within classes and also one-on-one assistance working with folks to develop business plans and to launch their businesses. With this program, we also have a small loan fund from $200 to $1,500. And believe it or not, sometimes that small amount of money really helps people to move forward. It's not always the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 people need. That can also be seen as an asset, starting a business. The other programs we have, and the program I'm going to talk a bit more about, is building financial assets. And we became part of the FDA coalition several years ago when a group of community-minded organizations, including Penquis, decided that one way in which to help low-income to moderate-income individuals build assets was to build a savings program. And so you have this information in front of you. So the Family Development Account is an account that people can start. You can put in $20 to $80 a month. It has to be from earned income. It cannot be from a TANF check. It cannot be from an inheritance. Oh, like we would all get one of those. It cannot be from a Social Security disability check. It has to be from if you have a part-time job, put $20 a month away. If you've already started your business, it can also be from income from your business. You can work at this, and right now, with the information that we have at Women Working Community, it's a 4-to-1 match. You have up to 6 months to earn this money. You put it in the savings account, and you build towards 3 areas. One is buying a home, starting or expanding your business, and going to school. And those 3 areas, education is an asset. I think we think about assets as money, as homes, as businesses, but certainly investing in your future through education is another way to look at an asset. The interesting thing about the FDA program, sometimes people are afraid of savings and gee, do I have to put my money in there, and do I have to make the commitment to put money in every month? It becomes a really good habit to have. What happens if I have a crisis 3 or 4 months into having a family development account? Well, you can pull the money out. You can't pull the match out, but you certainly can pull the money out and start over again. The thing, I have a couple of success stories with an FDA. I just worked with a man who just saved his $6,000, and he was able to go and buy some equipment for his farm in Washington County. 3 or 4 years ago, I worked with a woman in Bangor who had a small business on graphic art business. She was able to buy a computer and upgrade all her information. There are so many success stories, and then I know we've had a couple of people, not necessarily in Bangor, but in southern Maine, of women who've been able to buy a home. Now, with all of these, there's some criteria, which is great. If you're going to start a business, you have to have a business plan before you can withdraw that money and attend business classes through either, in our area, through Women Working Community or Penquis. There's a housing program through Penquis that you need to take in order to purchase that home. And the program that we do that is one of the requirements to have an FDA is called Financing Your Future. And that's several weeks of going through the program, learning about budgeting, building assets, how to build a good savings program, how to manage your money in such a way that it can move you forward. And that, again, Susan Russell, my colleague, who has a new grandchild, that's why she's not here today, that helps you then build that asset towards going to school. And again, it is a requirement for the program. So Women Working Community, we do this statewide. And there's some income guidelines, and they tend to be, again, low to moderate income individuals. And the Financing Your Future program, in addition to, we have other programs that can help you with money. One is called Credit Yourself. It's only 2 to 3 sessions. This is financed actually by Key Bank. And again, it's to help that pesky credit card. Look at that pesky credit card stuff that's going on and how to repair your credit and or how to start maybe thinking about taking out one credit card, not the 10 or 15 that are offered to everyone from time to time. The other programs we have are Creating Your Future. Again, that's helping women and men based on what they want to do next moving forward. So that's our program in a nutshell at this point. I guess explaining our program is something I plan to do, but you introduced it so beautifully, I don't have to go any further. So thank you very much. And I'm open for questions at the end of the session.
Okay, thank you, Jane. And our third panelist is Paul Matulis from the Penquiz Community Action Program. Paul has been the program coordinator for the asset building program at Penquiz, and he's worked as part of building and developing the Eastern Maine Cash Coalition, which brings together over a dozen government and social agencies and financial institutions to do what I talked about earlier, which is the volunteer income tax assistance. Paul is also a tax site manager with the AARP Tax Preparation Volunteer Program. So Paul, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, good morning. The Eastern Maine Cash Coalition. I work for Penquiz, but I work with the coalition. We call it CASH, CASH meaning Creating Asset Savings and Hope. The membership right now, AARP, the United Way, Women Working Community, Penquiz, and about 8 other agencies and financial institutions. What are our goals? The coalition aims to offer fast and accurate free tax preparation to low and medium income taxpayers throughout Piscataquis, Penobscot, Washington, Hancock, and Waldo counties, and to provide our clients with connections to asset buildings, tools, and strategies. This year, and this is for tax year 2010, we served over 4,000 clients within this 5-county area. And we saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars in commercial preparation fees. In addition to that, we got them, to the best of our abilities, all the tax breaks that they were entitled to. And again, the EITC is one of our focuses. EITC this year, the maximum allowable benefit that can be gained from that for a family with 3 kids, 2 adults, working, somewhere in the $10,000 to $20,000 range, they could get up to $5,700 back in earned income credit. So we're talking about a big chunk of change in the lives of a lot of these people. What about the asset building tools part? Well, that's always been the hard part. The coalition came together around EITC work and around the idea that it's a wonderful time to begin talking to people about asset building. We found that to be sometimes true. But it is a time, it is a chance. When people come in to get their taxes done, number one, they're there to get their taxes done. But number two, they're open to talking a little bit about finances, which is something that people aren't always open to talking about. We have a position known as asset coaches. Asset coaches greet the people as they're coming in, help them fill out their paperwork, and begin a conversation with those people about their financial situation in a very non-threatening manner. What we're doing is, to some extent, something along the line of financial triage. If in the course of the conversation the person expresses that they're happy with their financial life, then the conversation is going to be short. But very often we find out, someone may be a step or two away from foreclosure. Well, at that point, the asset coach has been trained to make available to that person a paper connecting them with the agencies that are certified to counsel people who are facing foreclosure. We talk to them about many. There are all sorts of programs out there that can help people in various situations. Now, some of this is less asset building than maybe asset stabilizing, trying to keep people from losing assets. But we also offer, through Jane's organization and our own, FDA, family development accounts, assistance with first-time housing, all sorts of benefits. So when the conversation comes around to something that we can be of help with, this is a chance to make this available to the person. We also go on the theory that, this is our one shot. We're going to meet the person one time. But they're going to come back next year because we're going to do such a darn good job of doing their taxes that they're going to want to come back to us next year. And we have had success with this project. I want to point out, in amongst the stuff that's piled up in front of you, this is just one piece of material that we've used to highlight some of the asset building strategies that we offer. Something for folks to take home along with their taxes and look at some of these programs and hopefully call back on. You'll note smart money courses, small business assistance, heat and winterization. Through Penquist, we operate the governmental LIHEAP program, low-income heating assistance, and throughout the course of the year, I find people who don't know about the existence of that program. And as far as I'm concerned, having a full tank at the beginning of a Maine winter is a really important asset, something that I like to see people have out there. So we use these strategies to try to bring people the asset building that we have. We get to the people. How do we find the people? This is one really good tool, and this United Way. If you're not aware of it, find out more about 211. It's a statewide call-in hotline. They're also online, where people can find services. And if your organization isn't listed, if what you do isn't featured on there, it probably should be. We have a lot of tax clients now who come to us by calling 211 and saying, I want some free tax service. Where is there some in my area? So I will push that. What do we as an organization, when I come to speak here, what am I looking for? Well, we're looking for members of the coalition. We're always open to people who feel that they want to become part of this work. We're also looking for volunteers continuously. Last year, we were really blessed with a good influx of volunteers, and it helped us to really increase the number of clients that are served out there. And we're looking for volunteers who are greeters, who are asset coaches, and who are tax preparers. So there are a lot of different roles that we have. And we want clients. So I'm very open to talking with any agency, anybody who serves a portion of the disability community. Please, let's talk about how we can get this service to your clients. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. We have a few minutes. We can take some questions. What the panel has shown is really the diversified set of possibilities from affordable financial services, financial education opportunities, small loans to help people in difficult situations, match savings plans, the volunteer tax assistance, just to name a few of the ideas that were put forward and offer possibilities for expanded service and support to people with disabilities. Can we take a question? If you raise your hand, we'll bring a microphone to you. Just please state your name, who you are, and if you want to address the question to the full panel or to one member of the panel. Do we have a question? You stumped the audience? Impossible. Right here.
Hi, Debbie Gilmer from the Centero. We do a lot of work with students from low-income families, and want to know, and I guess this would be directed to any one of you, the difference between a FDA and a 529 and recommendations for sort of how you create a culture of savings for higher education for folks with disabilities, for students from low-income families. Is there a difference? Are they the same?
I can talk 529 account. 529 is the regulation that covered the college savings plans. 529 accounts allow you to save money that ultimately comes out of the plan tax-free if used for education. It's pretty flexible, too. It could be vocational school. It could be originally targeted for one student, and then that child decides he doesn't want to do it. It could be sent to another child. They are typically funded with brokerage instruments. And the Maine State Plan, for example, is handled through Merrill Lynch, and there's a matching program depending on low to moderate income guidelines that will match your initial contribution into the plan. With that said, Maine also allows you to use any of the plans that are out there. So New Jersey State Plan in particular is a great plan, as is West Virginia, which is American funds, and New Jersey is, I think, it escapes me, but they're great plans. And you can look at how they're rated and how they've performed. But that's a great tool. You're probably not ever going to reach the ceiling on what you can put into it. And so it's a really good tool to take a look at. I'll defer to my esteemed colleague for the
And
other.
again, the family development account, students, all they have to do is contact Women Working Community or their CAP agency in their area to talk about FDAs. Again, it has to be earned income. So if they work part-time while they're in school, they're certainly eligible for that if they certainly meet the financial criteria.
And with the FDA, the family development accounts, is there a minimum age? Do you have to be over 18 or?
It is 18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay. But
makes
then it would work. Okay.
One of the benefits of the 529 too is the owner of the account is the individual contributing the account. So it could be a grandparent, it could be a parent, and then the funds are ultimately dispositioned at it's not like UTMA or UGMA or some of the other regulations where the child turns 18 and then they get the account. This is maintained by the account holder until such time as they want to do something with the funds.
And it's a great way for students to practice saving.
I'd say the FDAs are a shorter term savings instrument, whereas the 529 can be from birth, as I understand it.
Yeah,
So.
very much so. Could be gifted.
And with the FDA, is there a time limit? Must you complete your savings within a certain period or not?
Is it 6 months?
It varies.
It
It
varies.
varies by the program. There generally are time limits. Yes, they're not open-ended. You more or less make a contract with the agency in the process of taking out an FDA.
I know if I change the subject back to the earned income tax credit, not only is there the federal earned income tax credit, but Maine also has a state earned income tax credit. And so when you're getting volunteer tax assistance, I would probably guess you're helping people with both?
Yes. We do both, and
Both the
they're,
federal and
they're
the state return.
that's right. And they're both electronically filed, usually the same day.
Okay. Do we have time for one more question? Way in the back.
Mike Johnson, Department of Labor. Sure. I never talk low. Jane, I think the question would be directed to you. With the FDAs, is there a penalty if the individual doesn't make that same deposit every month?
I think that we try to work with that individual. If certainly we sign a contract, we know it's going to, the goal is, if there's something happens one month and I can only put in 40 versus my 80, I think that we can work that through.
Okay. Do we have one more question? Yes, here in the middle.
Hi, I'm Amy, and I'm from Community Health and Counseling Services. And when you talk about these programs, how would that work for somebody with a disability who has a ceiling as to how much you can make before you start losing your benefits?
Good question. I'm not sure a family development account would affect Social Security. That's a good question. I'm not sure I can answer that because it's a savings program. It's not income. It's not self-employment. So anybody who knows more than I do about that, if you're in the audience, please answer that question.
Elizabeth is going to provide a
good.
partial answer.
We talk about that in the
great.
next panel,
Great.
but
Okay.
that is exactly why we brought all of you together today, because you have all of the tools in your community. What you may not have is the know-how of how to apply those tools to the disability community. So just keep in mind the possibilities of what's available, and as we move into the next panel, we'll talk about how those possibilities translate to individuals with disabilities who may be relying on some public benefit.
And that's probably a great segue to end this panel. Let's thank our panelists, John, Jane, and Paul.